Okay, so in this meeting, we are going to talk more about Scrum teams, agile mindset, and the next step of of what we actually need to do and how the whole mindset plays. So last time we spoke about like how different processes work together and how Scrum process helps improve what we are trying to achieve. Now going further, everyone has now worked in that team. Everyone has worked through agile process and Scrum process. You have been part of daily Scrum meetings, daily sprint meetings. Now what we are going to do is just go a bit more into that, into depth about the mindset and different things that we generally see. So before we go into that, I'll just briefly go over what we did last time. So Scrum model is basically an iterative approach where the Scrum process or the project is divided into different sprints, where a team does the sprint from one place to one place, where we try to deliver the deliverables of that particular sprint. It is the whole process by itself. It's supposed to be flexible, adaptable, and good for modern development scenarios. In the Scrum model, we value individual and interactions over process rigidness. So this process is not a very rigid, but there is more importance given to the interaction that happens in the team from individuals. It values working software over comprehensive documentation. So again, it values the product that is delivered, that is usable, a usable software, which is working software. That is what is the most important thing. If you are working on certain things, which is like on the back end, front end, separate items are being developed, and if user is not able to use it, there is no value in that. Okay, values responding to change over the following plan. So that's where the agile process and agile methodology comes in. It values collaboration over contract negotiation. So collaborative environment where if something stops working, the whole team comes together, stops their work, figures out the solution, and then moves with everyone's work. So that is the most important thing. The project team is responsible for completing the sprint. There are only three responsibilities or three personas which play a role in the Scrum model. One is product owner, the other is Scrum team, and the Scrum master. The product owner focuses on what or the return on investment of the project. It can also be called as, like when we go further now, we'll also go into product owner and how the product owner owns and creates a system backlog in terms of user stories or what is required from the team. Scrum team is a cross-functional team and focuses on how certain thing needs to be done in terms of project, how the project needs to be executed. Scrum master focuses on removing roadblocks, setting timeframes, and providing visibility to product owners. So Scrum master is the liaison in between like the owner and the team, which works together. We went through different artifacts of Scrum model. One is product backlog. This is all the features that business needs, business wants, which are force ranked by the product owner. So this is where the priority comes in, which are prioritized. What is required first, what is required, what is good to have, what does not add value. So this is where the value proposition comes in. So the important things need to be focused early in the development stages. The less important things are pushed towards the end of the sprint. Anyone can add user stories or use cases. So we have been doing use cases so far. Now next OKR, from this month, December onwards, we are going to start getting into user stories. It does not contain technology specific tasks. So because we talk in terms of what user requires or user needs, we try to avoid or create user stories which are in terms of technology, because then if we have certain technology tasks, if user cannot use it, that is not really adding any value. So there has to be always user stories, and these technology tasks then needs to be linked to those user stories. There cannot be a technology task which is just present by itself in the system. Then coming to sprint backlog. So sprint backlog is based on the priorities which are set in the product backlog. So these are the certain features that are committed to for completion in the current sprint. So when we create a sprint backlog and we say like, okay, in this sprint, we are going to complete these many user stories. What we are really saying is we are committed to completion of these user stories which users can use. And sprint backlog is always tied to the deadlines. We currently have 1 week sprints. So I'm adding a new artifact in this, which is user stories. So I'll go a bit more in detail about this. So why we actually had to do this and what we saw in last few sprints in the company or in the projects that we were running. So so far we were working with use cases. And when it comes to use cases, use case, like everybody must have seen, the way we write use case is user must be able to do certain thing. So what we mentioned is like, okay, there is a user and this is what user needs to do. And when we started going into agile methodology, started discussing with teams, this generally happened around the first sprint reviews. The understanding behind why user wants to do that is also very important, which is not currently present in the use cases, the way we write use cases. So that's why now the why, like, why certain task needs to be delivered for a user or why certain feature needs to be delivered is equally important, because that defines how the implementation of that task is going to be. Because that provides a bigger view picture to the Scrum team when they start working on it. We noticed this in case of authentication. We noticed it in case of import-export customers. We also noticed it in case of templates. That understanding why we are doing certain feature is also very important. So that's why we are going to start introducing the concept of user stories into this OKR and sprint model going forward. So we will start moving away from use cases and start working towards user stories. So now what is the difference between use case and a user story? So use case is a very formal documentation of what needs to be done. We don't really talk about why it needs to be done. The more information and emphasis is given to what needs to be done. So user story is basically answer to that, which is more of a casual approach towards use cases. But one additional thing that goes into user stories is why it needs to be done or what is the goal of the feature. So we mentioned who this feature is developed for, what needs to be done or what needs to be accomplished for a given user, and why that certain feature is required or what is the goal of that feature. So this is generally formulated in users' everyday language. So this is not going to be a very formal language. This is going to be a very casual language. And these should help any reader, like, it doesn't necessarily mean technical readers. It could be any reader who is understanding what this system does. They should be able to read the user story and understand what actually we are supposed to accomplish as a part of development. So user stories are basically for users so that they can read and understand what is happening. User stories provide small scale, easy to use presentation of the information with little details. So we are not going to go too much into details. This is very broad level user stories, thus remaining open to interpretation through conversations with stakeholders. So now this last statement is very important in this. So whenever we are implementing something in terms of user story, when we read, like, how the user story needs to be formulated, when we start working on user story, we need to understand what the interpretation of that user story is, and we need to have conversations with stakeholders to understand the user story itself and how to implement it. Okay, so that is very important in user story. We'll go further details into that. So that is one of the artifacts that we are adding in this process onwards. Everybody has seen this Scrum model, everybody has used it, so I'll not go in detail into this. Again, just to understand like the process. So we have sprint planning, which is moving backlogs into sprint backlog. We have product backlog that gets prioritized, and based on priorities, it goes into different sprints. So first sprints, which are the initial sprints, those focus on adding the most value for the user. So generally, when we say, like, any product, 80% of the value is given in the 20% of the features that are developed. So that's why those 20% is focused in the earlier sprints to provide the maximum value to the user and to stakeholders and to product owners. By that means, we need daily stand-ups, which are daily, which are not more than 15 minutes. which are very simple meetings about what yesterday was done, what are we doing today, and are there any roadblocks. When it comes to daily stand-up meetings, it is very critical and important that daily stand-up meetings happen at exactly the same time every day in the sprint. So this daily stand-up is more like a heartbeat of the process or of the team. So when you have like, when you must have seen like, whenever like there is something that happens on a regular basis at a very expected interval, as expected, people feel good about the process, people feel good about it. Okay, it's not just a project or not just a process that we are using for development, but in your life as well. Like, if you have like certainty about something, that provides you a better understanding and you feel good factor that okay, everything is happening the way it is supposed to happen. So all the scrum masters, all the DRIs make a point that daily stand up should happen exactly at the same time, and the whole team needs to be present at that time. It is very critical for the success of the project. Same time, and everybody should be present, and every person should know what is happening in the system, what other person is doing. That is another reason why we have two pizza teams. Okay, every person in the team needs to know what other person is doing to accomplish the sprint's goal. Okay, there is no front end, there is no back end design and all those verticals when it comes to sprint teams. Every team member needs to know. Design needs to know what is happening in the back end, back end needs to know what is happening in the design, front end, back end design, they need to know what is happening in the quality control. Everybody needs to know what is happening. Even if suppose like, me or anybody comes and picks up one person from the team and asks, okay, what is happening in your team, that person should be able to tell what other persons and other people are working on. That is the goal of daily stand-up. Everyone should know everything. It needs to happen exactly at the same time. Everybody should be present in a daily stand-up. In the whole scrum process, there is nothing more important than the daily stand-up. Okay, so please pay close attention to the way you are conducting daily stand-ups. Daily stand-ups may we do not resolve issues. We just mention, okay, these are the roadblocks. Resolution meetings happen afterwards. Daily stand-up ke andar don't go for resolutions. That is very important. Daily stand-up is like immediately we talk about it, this, to the point, get out of meeting. Is there, if there are any resolutions or solutions that need to be found, schedule another meeting with the same team later on. That should not happen as a part of daily stand-up. It should be a separate meeting. Then we have sprint review, which is the demo of the product to get a feedback from product owner if we are going in the right direction. This is where we understood like, why we need user stories. Then we have sprint retrospective. This is to inspect the last sprint and what lessons were learned by the team. This happens internally within the team. This is about the improvement. Product backlog refinement. This is adjusting, splitting, determining dependencies of the backlog items. If something needs to be added, something needs to be divided further, something needs to be prioritized. Those things happen as a refinement process, which happens after the sprint review. Every sprint that happens. Everybody with me so far? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so going into the next one. So we have again gone through this. I'll just repeat it once more. The Scrum model and the properties of the cross-functional team. It is very important. Commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage. Okay, so when it comes to that, commitment is everyone commits to achieving the team goal and supporting each other. It is very important. It's a team which delivers the product, not individuals. Focus on the work of the sprint that makes the best possible progress towards these goals. So how the sprint is run again is very important. Like, are we focusing on what is the goal of that sprint? Do not focus on the next sprint. Focus on the current sprint, what needs to be delivered in the current sprint. We have seen this in the last few sprints. Like, when the team started shuffling their work, started thinking about, okay, if I do this in the next sprint ka work right now, it will be easier for me to accomplish the project. Those projects are not finishing on time. Okay, Do not focus on what is in the future on the next sprints. Focus on the current sprint only. Focus on the completion of the current sprint only. Every team member must focus on the completion of current sprint, not next sprints. That is the job of product owner and the scrum master, not the scrum team. Openness. Team members and product owners should remain open about the work and the challenges that are being faced. Do not hesitate. Do not try to hide anything. It has to be very open from both directions. What is not working so that it can be improved. Okay, that frank conversation is very important. Do not hesitate anywhere. If you have anything to discuss, raise the point right then and there. Do not wait for any meeting. When problem comes, that problem needs to be fixed right then and there itself. Stop complete work, fix that problem, then move on. The respect part. The team members must respect each other to be capable, independent people, and should be respected as such by people with whom they work. So inside the team, there has to be a respect towards what other person is doing, towards their skill set, and understanding that they will be able to do. So the faith that you have on your team is very important when it comes to this. You should not have any doubt about if the other person will be able to accomplish it or not. It has to be very clear that, okay, this is what we are going to do. The other person is going to give their full potential and efforts to accomplish this. And that trust is very important, and that trust needs to flow in each direction. That is really, really critical. Now, when it comes to courage, every team member must have courage to do the right thing and to work on tough problems. If you see as a team member that somebody else is doing something which is going to affect the progress of the sprint, you need to have a courage to step up and do the right thing for the success of the team. Okay, raise the point, raise a question. We are doing this. Is that correct? Should we do this? When it comes to the Scrum team, there are no designations. Everyone works at the same level. There is no designation. There is no team lead. Every person is at the same level. So feel free and have that courage. Okay, these are the most important things that need to be in every team of the Scrum. We have also gone through this. So how Scrum teams work is they look at the failure as learning opportunity. It is very important. Failure should not be looked at as something bad. It needs to be looked at as something good, which is a learning opportunity, and focus on that learning in the next sprints. Team should welcome different perspective and diversity of thought coming from different people. That is one of the main reasons why the team itself is cross-functional, because you get different perspectives in the team. It is very necessary to understand that people must have fun when they are doing the process. They're going through the process. It should not become like a very tedious thing. People need to have fun. The work pace needs to be sustainable. It should not happen that people are burning out in the process. If your team is working on weekends, that means something is wrong there in the process. Understand that. The team members can accept change and adapt quickly because everybody is collaborating, working together. Team has to be completely transparent and honest about what they are dealing with. People want and need to collaborate and communicate. The team is aware that they are using anti-patterns. So we'll go into it, like what are the anti-patterns in some new next slides. Knowledge sharing has to be done willingly and freely within the team. So knowledge has to flow. Okay, so that much basically we did last time. So the new slides that we have, new things that we are going to focus on are something that the part of the new presentation, this presentation basically. Okay, so now we are going to start thinking about, okay, what is the agile mindset? Like what we saw so far is a Scrum process. But when we enter the Scrum process, the agile mindset that needs to be developed within the team. When I say team, I'm meaning like every individual as a part of the team. It is very important to understand these. And this is open for discussion. Like I really want it to be a collaborative discussion where we discuss these points. Okay. So these points are basically coming from the book that is written by Jeff and Jeff Anderson, who is the person who developed Scrum process in the first place. Jeff Sutherland, sorry. So I've tried to summarize the book into these slides as points. But like, because these are individual points, like these one-liners have like a huge explanation in the book. If you are interested in reading the book, go for that. If you want to discuss these points right now, we can go for that as well. Okay. So let's first talk about the agile mindset and what is required in the teams when it comes to agile mindset. Okay. Change team performance than individual performance. So this is more targeted towards every person, scrum master and the product owners. It is very important to understand what we are doing. यहाँ पे like, can you give me feedback, guys, like that you are listening, that everybody is there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay. So यहाँ पे generally when we talk about like development and performance and the speed of the project, like whether somebody is able to do it or not, inside the team, do not focus on improvement of individual. Focus on the team's performance increase. Okay. So the good example, like, generally you may have seen like, you may have like, star players in certain teams. Maybe maybe you don't know, because you need to see people over the period, over different companies. But it may happen like, the person who is like a star person in one team may not function exactly the same in another team. Or you can have like a team of team members where nobody is like, hero, or nobody is a star, but the team as a itself, like as a whole, achieves more than the teams where there are like, star performers in the team. You can actually see this happening in most of the sports teams and the games that are played at the international level. The team performance, whether the team is going to win the match or not, is not dependent on individuals. It is dependent on the team effort, whether the team is going to accomplish it or not. You will see there will be teams who do not have any star performance, but still the team performance is way better without any star performers. At the same time, you will see like there will be certain sports teams where you have a lot of star players, but the team still loses. Everything is on paper. Like you can see the recent example of Indian cricket team got out of the World Cup. Okay, so that is what it is. So something is not working in the team there. Okay, so that's where the agile mindset comes in. Do not focus on individual performance, focus on team performance. Great teams have a purpose that is greater than individuals. Okay, that is like winning a world championship or completing the project in record time. Okay, so these are the goals which are beyond individuals. Individual goals क्या होते हैं? Like, okay, आज मुझे task कितने complete करने हैं, या फिर I'm going to score so much, I'm going to go do certain things. Wherever you have certain things which I need to do it or I'm going to do it, that is basically a personal goal. When it comes to agile mindset in the Scrum teams, the team's purpose is much higher than the individual goals. So that's why whenever we talk about like people, when they go into the meetings, when they are using the language to talk to each other, the language has to be more about, okay, what we need to do, what we need to accomplish, and this is what we are going to do. So that is the most important thing, and that needs to be cultivated in the team. You need to give team a freedom to make decisions on how to take actions, how they want to get certain things done as a part of process. And individual team members needs to be respected in their own craft. So that's why we have cross-functional team. So we have design, we have a BA, we have front end, we have back end. When these people are coming from different perspective, different teams, different crafts, different departments, every person in the team needs to respect that and have faith that, okay, these people know what they're talking about. These people know what they're going to do, and they are the masters of what they're supposed to do. And there has to be freedom around that. So can people take that decision on how to do certain things? Of course, the team needs to discuss about the implementation. ऐसा नहीं है कि like individually अकेले चलने का है and develop करने का है. That's not what I mean here. What we mean as a team's freedom is every person takes a decision and moves forward together. जब भी तुम लोग डिसीजन साथ में ले रहे हो, उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि you start moving in separate directions. That is not the freedom that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the freedom where you are allowed and you are allowed to do certain things in your own field, as long as it is moving the team together forward. Okay, So it's a different form of freedom. It doesn't mean you go in your own individual path. That does not mean that. Small teams get work done faster than big teams. You will see this. Maybe some teams have seen this already. Maybe some teams have not. But when you try to add more people, the team's whole progress is going to slow down. The sprint velocity goes down when you add more people. So that's why the team size is very important. It should not be more than 5. 7 is like the absolute limit. Beyond 7, you are going to start seeing like detrimental effects of team sizes. And that happens because every person, the success of the Scrum meeting and the Scrum process as a whole is that everybody knows what is happening. Everybody knows what other person in the team is doing. And when the team size becomes larger, it becomes very difficult for people to understand what other people are doing. They cannot keep all that in mind. That's why if you have smaller teams, you exactly know what the team is doing, what other people's problems are, what they are facing, and how I'm able to help those people. That's why the small teams achieve better results when it comes to Scrum process. The next point is, in the team, don't look for bad people, look for bad systems. The system that incentivizes bad behavior and rewards poor performance. Okay, now this is very important to understand. Sometimes in conversation, it may come up that, okay, there is like, certain person is not performing or certain thing is not working out. And you will see like gossips happening around. But we have to focus on one thing, that these people, they are not inherently bad, or they are not trying to reduce their performance. Their reduced performance is the effect of what is in the system that is incentivizing that kind of behavior. If inside the team you see that, okay, certain person is not pulling the weight, don't blame the person, blame the process that is allowing that to happen. Okay, and change the process, update the process so that doesn't happen. Do not doubt people. See, this is what you will see again and again here. Like, you need to respect people and need to find faults in the process. That is the most important thing. Don't do the otherwise. Do not go into the thing where you start thinking that, okay, process is what we need to do and people are wrong. That doesn't happen ever. People are always giving the best that they want to give. Process is where we need to look at. Is the process incentivizing somebody not pulling their weight in the team? We need to look at the process. We need to update the process. That's what needs to happen. This is basically the summary of how the team behavior needs to be. Okay. Any questions? Anybody wants to share anything here before we go into further discussions or topics?
No.
No, Vinay. Anything from DRIs which are currently working as DRI and Scrum Masters?
No.
All right. Okay. So let's go into the next part. Okay. So next topic is about the time. Okay. So when it comes to time in the process, the time is finite and it needs to be treated that way. So how are we going to treat the time that it is finite, where we don't have infinite time, is to break down the task that we are going to do in smaller chunks. One thing you will notice, if you have like a very big task, it becomes a never ending process. It just keeps, we keep working on it, keep working on it. You don't see end of it because the scope is too huge. So that's why it is very important to break down the task into smaller achievable things which can be achieved in a single day. If you have a task which is going to take more than a day, that means it is too big. You need to break it down into a smaller chunk. It needs to have a very clear scope in your mind. So whenever person starts looking at the task, okay, you have a user story. For that user story, you need to have certain tasks. Now the task is given to people. Now individual people can break down the tasks. Okay, so if you get a task, for example, of 3 points or 3 weight, for yourself, you can divide it into 2 tasks of weight 1 and weight 2. That is totally fine. As long as it makes your work clear, your understanding clear, you should be able to add a description on the issue with the scope that you want to accomplish. Okay, I have seen this again and again in the system right now. The tasks are added with like one-liner descriptions and very small. Don't do that. Add a complete scope that you have in mind and how you are going to implement that task. So every person, when you create a task, it make sure that you add a sufficient amount of description. Do not make it a process that okay, मेरे को घाई घाई में task add करते हैं. Don't do that. Take your time. The time that you spend in creating those tasks is the time that you are going to save later on when you get confused or when you want to break down those tasks. Make sure you have like a good amount of description for each task. It is very critical for success of the project. These are small things which are going to add up and make a huge difference in your process. So start doing that. Don't add one-liner descriptions or just like, one checkbox. Don't do that. Add a complete scope of what needs to be accomplished. Everything that you have in mind, what you're thinking about that task, who the actor is, what needs to be done, and why you're doing it. Again, make sure or you answer all these questions in any task that you're creating. It is very critical because you need to know what the success looks like for that given task. How do you know whether you have completed that task or not? That task description is going to tell you. So it is very important. The person who reviews your work, for them, it is very important. It saves time, a huge amount of time if you just spend some time adding description. Second point, in terms of saving time and how demos and sprint reviews are critical for that is basically demo it or die. That's what the statement is. That's what the statement is given by this person who created the process. If you can't demo it, the team is going to die away. It's not going to function. At the end of the each sprint, we need to have something that is done. So when we say done, there is a definition of done. What is called as done? Something that can be used by the user. If we develop something that is not usable by the user, that is not adding any value. We need to define what value is for a given sprint. So if you want to like make sure that you are respecting time, you need to start respecting the value that you are adding through the sprint. I see like in some of the sprints in last projects, what we did is we tried to go into further sprints. Like, it started working in advance. कि okay, अभी ये मैं काम करेगा next sprint के लिए, तो maybe next sprint में, I'll save some time. But what actually ended up happening is now the projects are delayed because of that. Don't let that happen. Work on the current sprint so that the demo can be given for the user. If there is something like, okay, the demo and everything work is completed, then you can work on those tasks. But if the sprint goal is not complete, then do not allow any team member to work on something which is next. It does not make any sense. Every person should be working and focusing on the current sprint. That is the most critical thing. Again, as we also discussed this previously, the titles which are given to people, these are specialized status markers, but those are useless when it comes to Scrum teams and sprints. Be known for what you do, not what you're referred to. Okay. So all the titles, throw those titles away. When you work in a team, you are part of the team. There are no titles. There are no team leads. There are no juniors. There are no seniors, nothing. There are people who are working on achieving certain goals. That's all that is. If you are in the team, you have earned that spot and you need to be respected for that spot. Okay. Do not refer anybody, or do not refer to them as freshers or juniors or leads or seniors. Those status markers are useless. We are not going to use those status markers when we are working in a team. If you are doing communication outside the company, okay, those status markers make sense because those people don't know who you are. So that time the designation matters. Inside, it is useless. It does not make any sense. And specifically, like, when you have like, emails that you are sending out, or like generally I have seen that people have designations for even internal emails along with the Rhapsody logo and stuff. Like, why? You don't need that kind of footer. Nobody needs it. People know who you are. You don't need to tell people what your designation is. If you are communicating outside, have that designation there. Okay. Most important thing. Another thing, if you want to save time, everyone must know everything in the team. communication saturation inside the team is going to accelerate your work. So when everybody in the team knows what every other person is doing, it is going to accelerate the team's progress and it is going to speed up the work as a team. You will achieve higher and higher velocities. Okay, that is very important. So right now it has to be a competition in your mind. So, okay, like in this sprint, as a team, we come, accomplished a velocity of say like 36, 37. Okay, how do I get it to 47? How do I get it to 57? Not by doing more tasks, but by updating the process, adding knowledge, and doing things more effectively. Okay. When it comes to teams check-ins, once per day is more than enough. These meetings are called as daily stand-ups. One meeting a day. See what can be done to increase the speed in those meetings and just do it. Okay. You don't need a lot of meetings. You need like, small meetings just to check in. Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what the roadblock is. And, probably we need to fix it. If there are no roadblocks, let people work in their speed. Let them run through that sprint. That's where the success is. Let them gain their speed. Okay. But not at the cost of, that not a demo not happening. Demo is the first priority. Don't work on next sprint tasks if the demo is not yet complete. Everybody needs to focus on the current sprint. So that is something that is summarized in the part of time. Anybody have anything before we go further?
No.
Questions? Okay. Okay, so I think most of you have already done a course in Udemy about Kaizen and lean management, where you must have gone through like, how to reduce waste. Ashwini, कितने लोगों ने complete किया है?
यहाँ पे सिर्फ 4 लोग हैं मैंने.
Okay, okay. I think more people need to do that. But anyway, like,
Yeah.
we are discussing that right now.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So first thing that we need to understand is that any kind of waste is a crime. We need to treat waste as a crime that we are performing. Okay. Doing more than one thing at a time makes you slower and worse at both tasks. Basically, multitasking makes you stupid. This is what is said by the person who developed Scrum process. Okay. And these people have huge experience in the field. This is what I think is the correct thing. Like if 5 people try to do multitasking, basically what they are saying is I'm not good at anything. I'm just trying to achieve everything and shuffle everything. Don't do that. If you start your work, complete your work before moving to the next work. Multitasking is only going to make you slower. Okay. So like if we have to give example in this context, okay. Imagine a scenario like, at home, you need to imagine like, you need to cook some food and you need to clean the room. Okay. Now, if you try to multitask and do both the things at the same time, by certain time, you will end up with not having both. But if you do one thing at a time, you go for like, okay, I'm going to focus on cleaning up my house first, and then going to focus on cooking at a time. That is going to actually speed up the process and you will at least have something completed. When somebody comes and asks you, okay, you at least completed one task rather than keeping both tasks incomplete. Okay, so that's what we are talking about. Half-built car, it's simply tying up resources that could be used to create value or save money. So the car has a value if it is completely built. If it is half built, it has no value. So what we are talking about, a feature or a user story or the deliverable that is half done, it's same as not done. Because for user, it is not done. User can't use it. So if it is something which is not done, it is not adding a value. If it is completely done, then only it adds a value because it is completed. So when it comes to sprints, we have to focus on completion and what value we are adding. Okay. Don't focus on tasks, focus on the value that adding for the user through that sprint. Focus on creating something that is usable again. So why we call it a waste as a crime? So basically, if you do something halfway, for user that is waste because user can't use it. So it's useless. It's not useful. So that's why having something completely done is important. When you make mistake, fix it right away. Stop everything, address it, and fixing it later can cost 20 times longer. Okay, so this number 20 times longer has come from the research that has been done in big companies. So they actually conducted a resource in Borland. If you guys know, like, maybe Borland company, which created like the C compiler and C editor. It's a developers company. Everybody is a great developer there. But what they saw when they were starting and developing things, the research that was conducted is whenever the bug comes in some feature or some task, they were told to like keep that bug aside and finish the current task right now. They measured how it affected the sprints, and on the other teams, people were told to work and fix the problem right there and there itself, and not move on to any other task before that problem is fixed. And in those two things, like this study was conducted again and again, people noticed that it took 20 times longer for a project to finish when the bugs were kept aside to be worked later on, or something that was kept as a deferred for later on. It generally takes 20 times longer to finish the project because it just keeps piling up. And it's not just only about piling up things, but the most waste it is in terms of time and the resources, because now there comes a context switching. So if you take up something later on to fix it, what you have to do is first of all understand what you implemented, then get your mindset into that complex scenario of what you implemented, then understand why we implemented it, where the bug was, and then try to fix that issue. So that creation of context in your mind takes time. And if you do it later on, say like, if you develop some feature right now and you look at the bug fixing after 2 weeks to fix the bug, generally if you imagine a sprint to be like 1 month, first sprint में suppose error आया, and now you start looking at fixing it in the last sprint कि अपने को bugs है तो अपने को fix करने हैं. What you're going to notice is it becomes very difficult to fix that bug, because now you have to figure out like why that bug happened, how to focus on that context, how to get into that context, understand what was going on, and then fix it. It takes more time to fix that issue. But वो issue अगर first sprint में ही fix किया होता, it would have been fixed in a much lesser time. Maybe it would have taken only 5 minutes, but now it is going to take maybe few hours to fix that issue, because everything is implemented. You have to again get back into that context. So that 5 minutes versus few hours is basically the waste. So if you spend few hours on fixing something which could have otherwise been fixed in few minutes, that is the waste we are talking about. Okay, so that's why it is very important that when the mistake comes, we fix it right there itself. So this is a very famous example coming from Toyota. This is how the Toyota car company works. So in Toyota, the conveyor belt that is there to building cars, it goes from one stage to other stage to so on. Every person on that conveyor belt has a right and a button to stop the whole conveyor belt if they notice a problem in the process or in the car. It stops. Every person, every people, they come, they fix the problem where the problem was noticed, and then start the conveyor belt. Okay, so to give you example how that actually looks in reality is, okay, the car is being built. Pehle wale some channel pe door was attached, okay, to the car. It went ahead. At some point somebody noticed, okay, the door is not attached properly. Okay, there is a gap coming in, and because of it, the hinge is not working correctly. Now the person is not going to let that pass. Okay, the person who is noticing the issue, their job is not to look at the doors, but they notice the issue. It is their responsibility to stop the conveyor belt because they notice the issue. So what they do is they stop the conveyor belt. The person who fixes the door comes to that location, fixes the door. They make sure that the problem is fixed, and then only they start the conveyor belt and car goes to the next step. Okay, this is what they do in Toyota, and that is the most efficient way of doing it. Versus The way BMW used to do it is build a car and then have a quality control department which looks at the car and then fixes issues in the car. The quality control department, which comes at the end, the BMW spends more money on that compared to Toyota spending that money on the whole building of the car. So that is a waste in terms of BMW. Okay. And these are real examples. These are not fake examples. These are real examples that are there. You can go and read about it. There is a book called The Toyota Way, which is about the lean management and sprints. Okay. You will find all these examples there. This is what exactly happens in the industry. So what BMW started doing is hiring people from Toyota to fix the supply chain issues so that they can develop this technology inside. Okay. Next point is working long hours does not get more things done. It actually gets less things done. It results in fatigue. It leads to errors because now when you're tired, you're not going to be able to focus on what you're working. And it is probably going to lead to having some errors. And because now those errors and bugs are there, now you have to spend time fixing those bugs. So that is how more work leads to more work. Okay, and this is done, it is studied, it is based on the research in the software industry. This is what happens. So that's why do not work long hours, do not work on weekends, have plenty and sufficient time for rest. If you work which is required, only what is required, you will actually get more things done. Don't work hard, work smart. Okay, that is what is important. If you think that okay, you're tired, don't work on anything. First, replenish yourself, get into the zone that okay, now you think you can work, then start the work. If you're tired, don't work, just stop doing what you're doing. Because if you end up doing something, know for sure that it is going to increase your work. Okay, don't let that happen. This is very important. If in your team, if you at the end of the sprint, if somebody has done some heroic efforts, if some individual came forward and accomplished something amazing and fixed the problem, and because of that person you were able to complete the project, there is something wrong with the team. If you need heroes to get things done, you have a problem. Heroic efforts should be viewed as a failure of planning. Okay, that is the most important thing. Understand that. If you have heroes in your team, which consistently you require heroic efforts, the planning is the problem. The planning is not happening correctly. And that's why that heroic efforts are required. If people are working on weekends, planning is the problem. Okay. So don't think working on weekends is a good thing. It's not. Those heroic efforts, that is a problem. Don't do that. Any policies that seem ridiculous likely are ridiculous. Stupid meetings, stupid approval processes, stupid standards, if are created within the teams, those are just stupid. If you notice something, you don't understand why you're doing it, raise that concern, because probably it is not required. Okay, in your daily tasks, in your weekly task, in your monthly task, if you notice something that you don't understand why you're doing it, and if you have a better way of doing it, raise that concern, put it out there. Okay, it is important. This is also very important. No assholes in the team. Don't be one. Don't allow that behavior in other people. Anyone in the team who causes emotional chaos, inspires fears or dread, or demeans or diminishes other people needs to be stopped right there in itself. This is very detrimental. This is not good for the team. Everybody, it is everybody's responsibility to notice it. And if they notice it, raise that concern. Stop if you see that happening around. Don't be one. Don't allow other people to act like that. Okay, it is very important. If you see some other person is demeaning some other person, don't allow that. It is not how it is supposed to be. That is not a team then. Don't allow that. I have seen this behavior. That's why I specifically am saying don't do this. Stop that right there itself. It's not allowed. It's not supposed to be done. That is a waste, because the moment you start adding emotional chaos in people, once people start adding that fear to get things done, people are going to do it, but they are going to do it under distress. That is going to cause issues, bugs, which are going to again take more time to fix those bugs. It's a waste. Choose the smoothest and most trouble-free way to get things done and strive for that flow. Okay. We don't need to come up with like smart as amazing architectures. We just need like a very simple, as less effort as possible ways to get things done. Don't do more efforts. Don't work more where it is not required. Okay, that's why, like, generally I say, like, best software engineers are generally lazy people, because they will always find less trouble and least amount of efforts way to get things done, and that improves the process because they get things done quicker. And not just me, I think Bill Gates also says that. So that is very important to understand. Lazy people generally make best software engineers because they figure out a least interesting way of doing things. That is what we need to do. If your software is boring, you're doing the right thing. Don't make it interesting. Okay, going forward, again, plan for reality, not for fantasy. Okay, when we create a plan to accomplish the project, so like, जब भी हम लोग project के sprint में जाते हैं, like, in that sprint or the milestone, in the first week itself, we have certain plan in mind. Don't fall in love with that plan. The first plan is almost always certainly going to be wrong. Don't plan everything out in years in advance. So like, if you have the whole milestone, don't plan everything in advance. Just plan enough to keep your team busy. Just plan that much. Do not estimate in absolute terms like hours. Do not estimate in hours, because humans are really bad and poor at estimating hours. Measure things which are relative, like t-shirt sizes for like small, medium, large, and those things. That's why we have weights. Weights are always relative in those sense, because you can then measure the amount of effort that will be required in relation to other efforts. It's not absolute, it's related, it's relative. Okay, that's why those weights are there. If you feel that currently the weight structure that we have created, like 1, 2, 3, and etc., if you think that is kind of becoming absolute terms in your mind, know that it is not good. Those terms are relative terms to understand. Okay, 2-point wala task is somewhere larger than 1 point, that's why we are calling it 2 points. 3-point is somewhat larger than, that's why we are calling it 3 points. Okay, so that's why those are relative terms. That's why we use Fibonacci series for that. Because again, like when it comes to relative terms, humans cannot tell a difference between, okay, what is 5 and what is 6, but they can tell a difference between what is 5 and what is 8, what is 8 and what is 13. You can't tell a difference, but like if somebody asks you in terms of rating, okay, rate 1 to 10 certain thing. If you get a rating like 7 and 8, now you have no idea what is the difference between 7 and 8. Human mind cannot interpret that. So that's why we go for Fibonacci series generally, because it is easier to go think relative in that sense. So that's why we have like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. So you can understand, okay, 5 and 8 mein difference kya hai. You can understand what is the difference between 8 and 13. Okay, so that's why those Fibonacci series are required, and that's why those are used. But it is not required to think in terms of Fibonacci series. You can create any kind of relative terms, okay. You can say like dog names instead of 1, 2, 3, 5. Anything is fine. You can use animal names if you want. All that matters is, okay, it needs to be relative. So okay, you have a very large task, maybe call it a dinosaur task. If you have a very small task, okay, call it an ant. If you have a little bit bigger, maybe cats and mouse and dogs and those kind of things. All that matters is you should be able to figure out relatively how big the task is. That's all that matters. Don't go into estimating in terms of hours. We can't do that. Humans are not capable of doing that. Every team should know exactly how much work they can get done in each sprint. Okay, I'm not talking about individual speed. I'm talking about the team's velocity. Okay, so the points or the efforts or the number that we accomplish in a given sprint is the velocity of the team, and that's how we measure. And every team needs to know what their velocity is so that they can understand if they are going below velocity or above velocity. You need to know. It is very important. If you are maintaining that velocity, you are not improving. If you increase the velocity, you are improving. If your velocity is going down, something is wrong with the team that you need to pay attention to. As simple as that. That's how that's why velocity measurement is required, because it gives a measurable way to understand if your team is functioning correctly or not. This is very important for all the DRIs, all the Scrum Masters. Okay, that's why now एक अपना milestone हो गया है, so now you guys know what the sprint velocities are for each team. So now start paying close attention to those velocities. Now your goal is going to be increasing that velocity. Okay, if it is remaining same every sprint, that means the team is not improving. Okay, as simple as that. Once you know how fast you're going, once you know your velocity, you will know how soon you will get there. Okay, so velocity is very important to understand what is the project deadline. Okay, so based on velocity, we understand, okay, how much work is there. We divide the number of points by the sprints. We understand, okay, by this time we will be able to complete it. So if you want to get to the deadline, understand when completion is going to be there, we need to know what the velocity is. As simple as that. And that is how we are going to plan reality. Okay, if we just in the cloud, if we come up with like some date, okay, this is the deliverable date, that is basically fantasy because there is no proof we can do it. But that delivery date, if it is based on the velocity of the team, then we have a real proof that, okay, it can be accomplished. That is a reality. Okay. All right. Anything so far? Any questions, any doubts, anything that any DRIs or any other team member wants to add anything?
No.
Feedback, guys.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now going into the next thing, which we are going to talk about is team's happiness. Okay, this is very important in any given team. It is very, very, very critical for product owners, for each team member, and for Scrum Masters. For everyone, this is very important, and this defines what we are actually going to do. So true happiness is always found in the process and not the result of what we accomplished. It's the journey that matters, not the destination. Okay, so generally what we see is we always celebrate the milestones accomplishments, that okay, yeah, we completed the sprint 100%, we completed the goals on time. I mean, of course you celebrate that, but more than that, daily efforts that are put needs to be celebrated. If people are giving you declaration and they are completing those declarations, that is something that needs to be celebrated on a daily basis, not the end result, but the daily task that is happening. Okay, this is for every person who is out there. Okay, this is for every Scrum Master. This is specifically for different process owners, product owners, everybody. You need to know what needs to be celebrated. Okay, so you need to have those daily celebrations about the daily tasks which are completing, daily efforts which are being put into the work. Don't focus on the end result, focus on happiness there. When you are happy, you become more creative and you are more likely to accomplish far more than what you ever did. So happy is the new black, basically. If your team is happy, know that they are going to accomplish far more than what you ever expected the team would achieve. And that is very important. That's why you need that happiness in the team. It's not enough just to feel good. Okay, along with that happiness, it is also important. Like, its feel good factor is not enough. You should be able to measure that feeling and compare it to the actual performance. Happiness is a forward looking metric. Okay, so like this statement by itself, like, it is very important. Like, I'll tell you, recommend you go read the book because it has a lot of material on this just one line. So what exactly happens in terms of happiness is every metric like velocity or how much you accomplished, how much performance is, everything is a backward looking metrics. You look back, gather data, it tells you where you are. Happiness right now, if you are able to measure the team's happiness, you are basically understanding what is going to happen in the future. So if your team is not happy right now, know that your velocity is going to drop. If your team is happy right now, know that your team's velocity is going to increase. Okay, so that is why we call happiness as a metric. That is forward-looking metric, which tells you what is going to happen in the future, not what has happened in the past. Velocity is what has happened in the past. If you want to increase the velocity, you need to focus on happiness. Increase happiness, velocity increases. That's how the thing is. That's how the equation works. At the end of each sprint, the team should pick one small improvement, that is Kaizen, that will make them happier. This is very important. So the question that we ask, like, what can be improved based on the facts? This is what we are talking about. So we are going to change that question a little bit. So instead of asking now on, what is the improvement that you are going to go forward with? Instead of that improvement, we are going to ask like, what will make you happier? So ask that to individual people, each individual person. Gather those things. Maybe you have 5 members in the team. Each person will tell you certain things that will make them happier if they do that in the next sprint. Get those all points. Choose from those all points the most important points that the team thinks is important as a collective, and try to accomplish that in the next sprint. Those are the small improvements that we are talking about. Those small improvements over the period of time make a huge impact, and it is very critical for the Kaizen principle, for the Scrum process. That's how the velocity increases. Nothing should be kept secret. Everyone should know everything. Secrecy inside the teams is like a poison because it is going to slow down your work. Work should be made visible. Everyone must know a complete status of the project. We do this using GitLab, where we have different dashboards, we have different project management tools to understand what is happening. Happiness, true happiness lies in autonomy, mastery, and knowing the purpose of what they are accomplishing. So when your purpose is bigger than yourself, when you are looking at mastering your craft, the whatever you're doing, and you have a complete autonomy over what you want to do and how you want to do it, not what you want to do, but on how you want to do it, that these 3 things combined will bring the happiness inside the team. So every Scrum Master needs to understand and focus on this. When we are talking about happiness, along with this, don't get so happy that we start believing our own bullshit. Okay. Measure happiness against the performance. That is important. If you see the team is happy consistently, but the velocity is not increasing, know that we are telling ourselves some certain form of bullshit that we are believing in. It's a false pretend happiness. And there is a disconnect between happiness and the performance. If there is a disconnect, be prepared to act on it. You need to take certain actions. You need to figure out what exactly is happening. Why are you having the disconnect? Okay. So if you are happy, the team is going to increase the velocity. That is as straightforward. If the velocity is not increasing, there is a problem with the happiness of the team. As simple as that. So that's how we are going to start measuring things now on. Okay. All right. So any questions? It is open now for discussion. And whenever you are asking question, if you like turn on the camera, it will be much better so that I can understand what you're asking.
Okay, I have a question, Vinay.
Yeah.
So as we
Hello. नहीं कुछ नहीं आवाज आ रहा है. You can
Hello?
probably type. You can probably type.
एक मिनट ना.
Yeah. Now it is there.
तो मेरे ना AirPods काम से गए. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we can. Yeah, hello.
Just a second.
We can hear you.
Okay, so my question is now, as we are going to add user stories to the process, so if we do not have BRD for a particular microservice,
Mhm.
so how we are going to proceed? We are first going to write user stories, then we are going to write use cases. I'm not sure about how.
Okay.
We are going.
Okay, so when it comes to BRD, the purpose of BRD is very different. The purpose of BRD is give as much as possible specifications to the backend team. In case of user story, when we saw user story is written for understanding how the task needs to be accomplished. So we are focusing more on the why behind that task. Use cases that we write in the BRD is what exactly needs to be done. So that use case still needs to be in high detail.
Okay.
But that BRD is only for backend. BRD is not for front end.
Okay.
So when we talk in the Scrum team, the user story that we write, it should be understandable by design. It should be understandable by front end, back end, everybody in the team.
Okay. Okay.
So that's why we need user story, because use cases in the BRD are specific to be a back end. And I think we have gone through this multiple times. Designers, if they read that, they are not really going to understand what is happening. And they should not be even focused about what is happening on the back end. They should be focused on what user wants and why they want it.
Correct.
And that's where the focus should be. So BRD is at its place. It has its own metric. It has its own requirements. User story in the formation of Scrum process has its own merit and has its own purpose. Those are very different things. And we are using those two things in a very different context.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. The purpose here being that everybody in the team should understand everything.
Correct.
That's why we can't use BRD here. And that's why we create something like user story, which is very simple to write, very easy to read. It doesn't take very long to even write it. BRD is going to take a huge amount of time because it is very much like a long details. We talk about every errors, possibilities, different types of actions, actors, what can be done, what are not allowed. There are so much details. User story is not about that. User story is like simply understanding what is the status, where we are, why we need to do it. Simple.
And each user story, the list of user stories that we list should be approved, right?
So we'll go into that. So user story creation is more of a responsibility of product owner with the Scrum Master.
Okay.
So when we are creating user stories, it is something that we do together. So there is nothing called as like reviewing after doing certain things. We have to do it together, basically.
Okay, got it.
So whenever we are going to have meetings later on to discuss topics, that is the time when we start noting down all the user stories. That as this person, we want to do this because we want to accomplish that. In the meeting itself, we complete user stories. So right now what we are doing is like first creating a issue template. So once we have issue template, then everybody can just start using that same thing.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Vinay.
Yes.
Who will be responsible for creating the user stories?
So user story creation is a responsibility of product owner and the Scrum Master together.
Okay.
They are equally involved in that. It's an equal collaborative responsibility.
Okay.
Where will we create those user stories? Like there'll be some project.
Yeah. So currently we are creating issue template for that, and user stories will go into that issue template.
When I also have a question, like, will the task be associated with each user stories that we create? Like the Git tasks associated with that user story?
So right now in GitLab, right now the version that we are using, there is no way to do that. So what we are going to do instead is, just give some code to a user story and then link those things together.
Okay.
so that the task which we are performing, it at least needs to say like, which user story it belongs to.
Correct.
So
Correct.
even if
Yeah,
it is in a description, even if it is in the form of like a specific title formation, it is
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
It's basically like, the way project management system we are using is that's why we are not able to do it. But in ideal scenario, if you go to user stories in Wikipedia as well, they will tell you like, user stories is basically columns, and under that columns you have tasks for each user story. So then you go into like individual tasks, because user story ke andar, like, you can have like design, you can have front end, back end, various things that you need to accomplish, and those are basically the tasks.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And multiple user stories then can be combined into epics and sprints, and all those concepts are there. Right now we are not going up to epics. We are going to be limited to user stories and tasks, because we need to get there slowly.
Yeah.
Hello, one
Let's
sec.
go to the question.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Shailesh has posted a question. How are we going to handle technology task in user stories?
Yeah, so see, user stories are not GitLab issues. Okay, right now we are not creating GitLab issues for user stories. User story, we are going to, all the user stories, we are going to keep it in a single issue so that any person can just read and understand what is happening. And those IDs will be given to each user story. And those IDs which are there, we will just mention it as a part of title in the issue, so that we understand, like when we read the issue, we understand which user story it belongs to. That is a workaround that we have figured out. It's a workaround basically.
Okay.
Anything else? We are 20 minutes above
Yeah.
designated time.
Yeah. Any questions, guys? Anyone?
Now.
If no questions, then I'll stop recording.
Yeah.